Welcome back to Comic Book History, episode 20. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the Invaders. Yes, the comic book group created by Roy Thomas and Sal Buscema. They made their first appearance in Avengers number 71. When Avengers members, the Vision, Black Panther, and who was the other one? There was like one other person. Let's see. I'm trying to remember. It was like one other person. It was like it was Black Panther, Vision, and I think the other one was Giant. I think it was Yellow Jacket. Yeah, Yellow Jacket. They were time traveled to the past by Kang, who who basically was part of a game with the Grand Master, which basically this was the storyline of his debut. And my guess is Roy Thomas must have loved the concept so much, and in this issue only, they only had members were, at this point, just Captain America, this is of course Steve Rogers' Captain America, Namor the Submariner, and the Jim Hammond Human Torch. And then they pretty much got their own, they got a giant-sized Invaders #1, which established that not only have the Marvel's original Big Three, which in the Golden Age, the Big Three was, now, when people think of Marvel's Big Three, people think of Captain America, Iron Man, Thor. Those people think Marvel's Big Three. Excuse me. And it has been that way since the 1960s. But originally, for the 1940s and 50s, it was Captain America, Human Torch, and the Submariner. Human Torch and Submariner made a debut the same year in 1939, while in the case of Captain America, he made his debut in 1941, approximately 1 month before the U.S. entered World War II. Now, they pretty much had it where Roy Thomas had these three people, along with Toro, who was the Human Torch's sidekick, who basically, like him, could turn into a kid-sized Human Torch, and of course, Bucky Barnes, the Winter, who basically people know modern day as the Winter Soldier, James McCann Barnes Bucky. These guys formed the Invaders when a group of Nazis tried to assassinate Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister at that point. So he encouraged them to stay active. They had their base operations in two different places. They operated out of Virginia and they operated out of London. And they usually participate in a lot of sabotage stories. They even fought a group called the Axis. That's seriously what the villain group was called. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, when trying to take on Mastermen. Yeah. Now, Axis was basically a group of Nazi villains. That's essentially what they were. Like Iron Cross, whose daughter basically she joined the group later on. Yeah. Not long after the group formed, they were joined by Montgomery Farnsworth, the first Union Jack, Spitfire, the second Union Jack, the Wizard. Okay, here we go. Super Axe. Yeah, they were the villain group. I think you can kind of think of them as the 40s version of the Masters of Evil. And the group comprised of Baron Blood, Lady Locust, Masterman, U-Man, and Warrior Woman. Yes, the same woman who joined the Fearless Defenders, and they made their debut in issue 40. Yeah, so Roy Thomas introduced this group just before the series ended. Yeah. Now, the original Invaders series lasted for 41 issues before it got canceled. Now, my guess is he must have had more success writing Golden Age characters at DC than at Marvel. That's why the reason Roy Thomas left. The book did have basically barely about halfway through the book's first year, they introduced another group that operated at the same point, the Liberty Legion. Yes, Frey crossover, they introduced the Liberty Legion, which the group was comprised of Diamond, Bucky Barnes, who was actually not Bucky, was actually Fred Davis, the second Bucky, Jack Frost, Miss America, Patriot, Red Raven, Thin Man, and the Wizard. Yep. These guys, well, they formed the group. The reason why the group formed was because the Red Skull had simply brainwashed the original Invaders. Yeah, and then later on, the Liberty Legion will pop up now and again during the course of the Invaders series, but Liberty Legion never got their own ongoing comic book. They never did. My guess is in the 1970s there wasn't much of a nostalgia pull for Golden Age Hero. That's part of the reason why they weren't much success in the 80s. After the series ended, well, up until the 1990s when they had their miniseries, they usually will pop up in flashback stories in either Captain America's comic book, or either in the main series or one of the annuals, or they appeared in flashbacks for Submariner. They even had one. There was even a. Yeah, that was simply it. Then the series was brought back in 1990. Was it one? I believe it was when it was brought back. Let's see. Excuse me. It might have been. It was definitely the early 90s when it was brought back. Relic 91 was a foursome in the series, and they fought the Super Axis again. One of its members was the Golden Age Vision, who, unlike the version of Roy Thomas introduced in Avengers number 57, this one was not an android. This was an extra-dimensional alien. Yeah, and he had his own spaceship. No joke. And he basically looks like the Vision. And even though he's not, he's got a different color scheme anyways. Also, in case you ask, no, the android Vision has never met this guy. At all. This guy is around a little bit long. This guy was around for 20 years longer than the Vision, and these two have never met. Never. Yeah. Then, after the course that miniseries ended, a lot of the rest of the time was simply flashbacks until the early 2000s when Chuck Austin decided to create a new version of the Invaders, thanks to a three-parter called Once an Invader, which this new group was comprised of, get this, Blazing Skull, Tara, Finn, basically Liberty Legion, U.S. Agent, and Union Jack, along with Finn, Nita, and the Human Torch. They were put together by the Red Skull, who was posing as Del Rusk. By the way, this particular storyline, him Red Skull posing as this guy, yeah, this is actually adapted into a storyline during the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes series. Good job, guys, for basically adapting. That was a really good story. Eventually, after the three-part story concluded, of course, Avengers had Avengers Assembled afterwards, but there was a spin-off book, New Invaders. A book that was quickly canceled due to low sales. Yeah, apparently the book couldn't sell very well. It started with issue 0, which simply was I think was a reprint of the original series, and the book got canceled 9 issues, where in the last issue the Human Torch died. Yeah, he blew himself up, and then like a couple years later, they of course named their camp after him. That his remains were actually kept at the camp until the guy was brought back in the 2010s. Then after that, the Invaders simply kept quiet. They did have a couple other miniseries prior to bringing it back in 2020. I think it was 2014. They brought it back in 2014. There was the New Avengers Invaders miniseries. Excuse me, which was a 12-issue maxi series, which had the original Invaders being time dispatched to present day, and I think the series was done by Bendis. I think it might have been Bendis. Yeah. It was called Avengers New Invaders. Yeah, it's Bendis because it came out in 2007. Pretty good miniseries, which ended with the team go back to the proper point. They did have a reunion of the team for the Invaders Now miniseries, which simply put had the original members, all 5 of them, with the addition of the android. They did bring the team back. Now it consisted of Bucky Barnes, who was Captain America at this point, Human Torch, Submariner, the original Captain America, Steve Rogers, with the addition of Spitfire, and of course, Toro. They also had the Vision and the modern Union Jack part of the group. And basically, they were brought together to stop a virus that they had basically, they remember basically fighting back against in the 40s. So sort of basically decided to come back together, and they even did something really weird in the series. They had it where in one issue, because apparently these people in this village didn't know anything about what was going on in the outside world, they had Bucky Bucky wear his Bucky costume, and they had Steve Rogers put on the Captain America costume for like this one period of time. It was so funny because they had no idea Bucky became Captain America. They had no idea. It was a great miniseries. And at the end of the miniseries, there was a advertisement, basically, if you love this miniseries so much, ask for more Invaders stories. And we didn't get one for several years, or at least for a few years, until we had the all-new Invaders series written by the awesome James Robinson, where it reunited the four of the 5 original founding members, Cap, Winter Soldier, Human Torch, and the Submariner. Human Torch, prior to this, had previously appeared in pages of Secret Avengers, which, at this point when the series started, he had been on scene for over a year. And the series did something quite interesting. The first few issues were told from people's point of perspective, like, versus the Human Torch, like, apparently he's a gas agent, and all of a sudden, like, at the end of the issue, Cap Winter Soldier shows up. The next issue simply rewinds back to simply how that happened. Then issue 3 simply just explained what was going on with the Submariner. And the whole point was after this item called the God Whisperer, and also taking on the new a female alien who, by the way, after this arc never appeared in the series ever again. As far as I know, she never appeared in the Marvel Universe ever again. Yeah, she's part of the Pursuer Corps. The original one was killed off years prior. She's a new Pursuer, and if you see a picture of this one is a smoking hot alien. And I'm thinking, though, why couldn't, like, I'm sure that Bucky was like, damn, this woman is hot. And yet this one beat the living crap out of all of them. And eventually the group did sort of come together, and they sort of briefly disbanded after issue 5, though they came back together the following issue. And of course, Human Torch basically joined S.H.I.E.L.D. at the end of this first arc. And of course they had gold. Then they sort of brought the team back fully when they had, they had Sam Wilson briefly join the team, and they had they also had Radiance, who was the granddaughter of the Golden Girl. They simply had children of people basically who were part of the Young Allies back in the 1940s. Joined a group, and the book was simply okay up until the final issue, where because Cap wasn't part of the series at this point, they had most of the original founding members basically do various different things. Then the book ended after 15 issues published. Yes, 15 issues. Human Torch just went off, did his own thing. Steve had aged to his natural age because what happened to Rick Remender's Captain America. And that's really much it when it comes to the Invaders. After that, the series was canceled, and the Invaders were never brought up ever again. And it's been 2 years. Now, my personal theory, the reason why the series got canceled was because of low sales. Now, I'm thinking, though, the series was written by James Robinson. Yeah, James Robinson wrote all 15 issues. And apparently this is a trend for James Robinson. Because anytime this guy's put on the book, basically, this is the first of 3 books he's been put on where they got canceled after 15 issues. Currently, he's doing Nick Fury right now, which they've released issue 1, which is really good. It's Fantastic Four book is the only one not to be canceled with 15 issues. This one was canceled. This one ended after he did the run for. He had 18 issue run. He did 14 issues of Volume 5. Then he did 4 issues of the Legacy numbering. So overall, he did 18 issues. This is the only one actually lasts more than 15 issues. Then, of course, you had the replacement series of Scarlet Witch and Squadron Supreme, which both the books got canceled, 15 issues. Excuse me. And now he's doing Nick Fury. And soon his cable run is gonna come out soon. Not sure when though. But my personal guess is the reason why the series got canceled, 15 issues, low sales. Which I'm kind of like, how can the book not be selling too well? I'm sure people who are fans of the Invaders, basically, fans of these characters, like, I would think a character like Captain America would help the book sell really well, but apparently not. Also, I think a guy like James Robinson basically mean gold for Marvel, because apparently it seems like almost any title Robinson has been on, it's like the book is doomed to be canceled in a little over a year. Either that, or he was only contractually obligated to do 15 issues. I don't really know what the deal was when it comes to that, but I honestly felt as though that the All New Invaders series should not been canceled. And unlike its counterpart series, Roy Thomas started over at DC, the All-Star Squadron, and of course Infinity Inc. and Young All-Stars, Invaders has never been truly a success financially at Marvel for some reason. It was like any time that these guys are given an ongoing series, they don't last too long. They had 3 attempts. The first time was in the 1970s, where it lasted 41 issues, then it got canceled. Then you had the very brief ongoing series in the mid-2000s, canceled after 9 issues. And then you have the recent ongoing series, where it lasted for 15 issues before being canceled. And it seems like the only time the series this group has had success is as a mini-series, because, well, at least all the issues came out. It only had 2 of them. Yeah. You have the Volume 2, which was 4 issues, and the Invaders Now, which is 5 issues. The Invaders, to me, has always been a pretty interesting group to read. And Marvel has collected the whole entire thing, and like everything related to the Invaders is in trade. So you can find it pretty easily. Like the oldest trade that Marvel has of the Invaders, if it gets worked properly, is as early as 2014. Well, actually, it's that's a collection. The oldest one is as of 2007. Yes, 2007. Yep. There's also the Marvel Universe series, basically storyline Eve of Destruction. Yeah, this is at least overall for the Invaders comic book. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's basically about 15 different trades, but it should be pretty simple to track down the whole series. Yeah, and if you read like the complete collection, you can get the series done pretty quickly. So that's really it when it comes to Invaders. Despite the fact being an awesome group, apparently no one was interested in reading about Golden Age superheroes. Even when they're operating modern day, apparently it's not interesting to people. I don't really know. I'm one of those people who actually enjoy the Invaders. And of course, when the group disbanded, they were replaced with the All-Star Squadron, which were around for about 2 issues, which they were technically the first ever superhero group at Marvel Comics back in 1949. Yes. So the Invaders were active in World War II, and then of course they disbanded, and of course they had the Liberty Legion and the Invaders merged to form the All-Star Squadron, which were only around for a couple issues. Now, there is no issue 20 of All-Star Comics because they became all-teen comics. Yeah, it's something really weird. Marvel does this on occasion. They haven't done this in years, though, but yeah. But yeah, the All-Star Squadron was simply just a continuation of both teams. And the Liberty Legion was brought back in the mid-2000s as one of the initiative teams. Appeared a couple times and never mentioned it ever again. Well, they did bring up that one of the members was actually a Skrull. That's really it. So it seems like Marvel just half the time just doesn't care about doing Golden Age superhero teams, or at least the only other thing comes close to it is the series The 12, really good miniseries. It brings in 12 semi-obscure characters, brings them together, and has to basically do. Apparently, they were captured toward the end of World War II, kept frozen, and they were revived in modern day. Some of these characters, I looked at their appearances from the Golden Age. Some of these characters appear like 1 or 2 times, and that's it. That's one thing really bizarre about these characters. It's like the writer of the series took very obscure characters and made them interesting. I highly recommend also checking out The 12 as well, because it's a really good comic book. The only thing really odd, though, about it was the fact that after issue 8 came out, the series was delayed for a few months before finally the series was concluded. It's essentially it's a 13-issue maxi series because there is an issue 13. But the only thing else related to Golden Age Heroes is the V Battalion. They had a couple mini-series, Citizen V and V Battalion. They first appeared in Pages of Thunderbolts. which I believe this group was created by Kurt Busiek, if I'm not mistaken, just like the Thunderbolts are. Otherwise, so that's it when it comes to other stuff when it relate to the Invaders and, of course, Golden Age superhero teams. So that's it for this episode. Next episode, I'm going to talk about next few episodes. I'm going to talk about a few teams that Roy Thomas did over at DC. Well, actually, a few books per se. I'm going to talk about a few different teams that at least a few of these series were done by Roy Thomas. The other, of course, by other people. Like next few episodes, I'm going to talk about the JSA, the All-Star Squadron, the Young All-Stars, and Infinity Inc. I'm going to talk about all these people. Okay? But until then, I will see you there. Bye.